Praise the Lord, saints. This is Elder Adrian Hammond. I was thinking of one of the signs that the Lord's coming soon that Christ spoke himself. I spoke of before, of men's hearts failing them for fear. In other words, the increase in strokes, in heart attacks, things that seemingly come out of the blue but have been building and building and building due to stress. And what I wanted to do this time is not talk about the medical costs of what's happening in our society, but I wanted to bring forth today the mental costs, and really in one area, and that is fear. If it's one thing that is abundant in this world today, it's fear. Fear can be, it's not just fear that you hide from somebody, or fear that you're running from someone, trying to avoid a catastrophe, but fear that galvanizes you to kill someone, to brutally treat a person because of what you fear. And I want to discuss some of those things because as a saint of God, that's one of the most powerful emotions that we have. And we have to control it, or else it will sap whatever strength that the saint of God has. I keep on remembering the verse that says, fear hath torment. Fear torments you. It drives you. It is always on your mind. So when you are speaking, you are preoccupied with the object or the subject of your fear. And because we fear so much, even saints, we don't pay attention to God. We don't pay attention to the words he says, how he will always be with us. He'll never leave us. He'll never forsake us, because we're always afraid. Fear is something that grips us, holds us tight, won't let us go. And it will let you go, but only at death's door. Even then, you're afraid of death. And Jesus wants us not to be ruled by that emotion, because it's destructive. It's highly exhaustive, for one, and it also brings forth your self-annihilation as well as the damage it could cause to others. Some people who would normally be a very nice person, the subject of their fear will drive them crazy. They will turn into almost like a monster. They will like they're drooling at the mouth, and their hands turn to claws, and their teeth turn to fangs, and it's like a horrible transformation, but it's because of fear. There's a reason why God often said, fear not. Fear not. Because there's always certain circumstances that people would face. People full of fear. For instance, in fear of an army coming over, fear of no food, fear of a pestilence. And so we understand fear. But There's another area of fear that we sometimes don't see, but it's prevalent here today. And many people have various items that we fear. We fear the losing of our wealth. So every time prices rise, we are frightened. How are we going to eat? How are we going to stay in our house? How are we going to drive? And we're fearing, even while the Lord is making a way out of no way to give you what you need to go through. But we fear it because it can go higher. We can see gas right now. Gas is approaching all-time highs. But it can bust through that by the various things that goes on. Even though there's plenty of oil around the world, because a certain area of the world is involved in conflict, then that spreads fear. Then there comes another area of fear. That if it's spreading to various countries, then it's easy for other countries to get sucked into it. And there's always in the back of the mind something requiring World War III, which then makes a lot of people frightened because they don't want to deal with what may happen, which is nuclear warfare. Gonna just imagine rockets shooting up in the air. We've seen these rockets on TV. Test rockets going from various Air Force bases. Rockets in the Middle East heading towards targets or being intercepted by other rockets. But we're afraid of conflict. And in fact, they have this fear has been placed on the news regarding attacks from the Pacific Ocean to get California. I'm assuming from the border with Mexico all the way up to Eureka and maybe even further to the Oregon border. But now you got a whole populace in the West Coast that's looking at the sky for little small things that would be very dangerous or could cause death and dismemberment because of explosions. We're afraid of that. And then, of course, we don't want China to get in, and we don't want North Korea to get in, and we don't want Russia to get in. Which then, in the meantime, they're feeling the same way. Got people in Iran. They're not snowed by the message of the Ayatollah. They're afraid. Either we get killed by the forces with the Ayatollah, or we get killed by the bombings of Israel and the U.S. Then with the U.S., they're afraid. That's why they do what they do. They're afraid. They're afraid of what Hezbollah, what the Houthis, what Hamas is going to do. And they want to attack Iran because they figure that since Iran funds these organizations, if we get them, hopefully we'll keep from fear. But that's not going to stop. Even if Iran somehow capitulates, there'll only be a rest, but others will take up the mantle. The mantle of violence. Well, here's another thing. We're afraid of violence in our land. And it's funny because we have been getting lower and lower and lower in this country in violent crime. But the fear is at an all-time level. We look at people walking down the street. Could they go crazy? Could they shoot somebody? could they kill somebody? The vast majority of people don't have anything to do with you. They don't care. But because of what we hear on the news, we're afraid of Iran. We're afraid of immigrants from Mexico. We're afraid of communists. We're afraid of essentially those that are coming in from African countries. We're afraid. There's another thing. We're afraid of those that don't look like us, don't sound like us, don't practice the same things as we do. We're afraid of them. God didn't tell us to be afraid, but we're still afraid. We tell Lord, protect us from those people. Protect us from those that want to give us harm. And we know exactly who we're pointing at. We're not pointing at the people that look like us. We're pointing at the people who look like others. We are afraid. Why are we so afraid, saints? Why is there this, it's like a position of resignment to fear? No wonder why many of us are killing over. Why so many of us are losing our minds. There's other, of course, there are other ways that we fear. We fear losing our jobs. We fear now that AI has become a reality. What does that mean for us in terms of our productivity? Will we make less? Will we make nothing? We'll be scrambling to find some other type of work? What if AI takes over everything and then we're left with, what can we do? They tell you that AI makes everything cheaper, yet everything gets cheaper, but you can't afford it anyway because you have no job. Fear. At least that's the thinking with people. I'm just going with what people are thinking. The next step. If you vote in a Republican, then you're going to be led by billionaires and not by people like me and you who count. That's the fear. If you let Democrats be president or rule this country, it will not be a God-abiding country. It will be atheists running all over the place. It will be essentially the Bible excluded from every single thing, and we will be persecuted as Christians. This is essentially another fear. I'm not saying they're real. Many of the fears are not close to being real. But someone has a reason. They have a motive to pump you full of fear. And the problem is the saints of God are falling for these fears, and when they should not be falling for these fears. Jesus said, fear not. Fear not, little flock, for it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. You may be little, but you don't have to fear. You fear you miss opportunities. You fear all you see is hardship and enemies. As I said, fear will make you do some of the most dastardly things, or it'll make you agree with someone else doing the dastardly deeds. This is God's way of punishing the infidels. It's not God's way of punishing the infidels. It's essentially God leaving you alone to your own destruction. Why? Because in most cases, if not all of them, it's because someone has fallen down on serving the Lord. So God lets you go. You're reprobate to him. And then he leaves you alone to your fears because you don't care about his comfort, his protection, his guidance. All you see are enemies. Is one behind the bush? Is one behind the car? Are they coming down the street? Are they in the air? Are they in the ocean? Are they on the ground? Where are they? They are coming after me. It will make you crazy. Fear will make you go crazy. Saints, I am asking you, as one brother to another, don't let fear overwhelm you. Does it mean that you don't think of anything of the things that are taking place? One can look at the economy and say it's going well. Others can see the stock market, see it's dropped over 4,000 points in the last week or two. You can say, well, but I'm working. That's a good thing. But another 92,000 has been cut from payrolls. But it's a way that you look at it. And if we take this scripture and hold it to heart, it may help some of you. All things work together for good to them that love the Lord and who are the called according to his purpose. No matter what happens, I'm not saying all things are good, all things are not good. But eventually, all things tend to work together for our good. Whether it means a lesson being taught, whether it means an experience to go through, or whether it means a blessing to receive. If you're a saint, don't worry. Elder Haman, it's easy for you to say, no, it's not. I have my own things to take care of. But I put it in God's hands. And with that, then I continue to go. Understand that the Lord has my back. There's a reason why the Lord says, fear not. It's things that may come up against us, but they don't have to overwhelm us. Things may come up against us, but they do not have to overwhelm us. Repeat that. And keep repeating that as I take off for now. God bless you. May he keep you. Love you in Jesus' name.